Welcome to Preneur Diaries. Today we have with us Deeraj Shetty. As a former professional tennis player, he understands the importance of discipline, dedication, and overcoming failures. Having left home at the age of 15 was the beginning of his journey of money, budgeting, planning, and personal finance. Today, as a SEBI registered investment and retirement advisor, Deeraj Shetty advises executives, doctors, lawyers, and athletes with comprehensive wealth protection and wealth creation solutions with a detailed focus on tax efficiency and risk protection for the family. As an NRI, having spent 29 years living and working in Bahrain, Dubai, USA, and Singapore, Dheeraj has learned and understood cross border cultures and nuances while being exposed to Indian and global wealth advisory. With opportunities as an NRI Wealth Manager in Singapore, Dheeraj believed the system will not allow him to build honest relationships with a comprehensive approach towards investments and retirement planning with 100% transparency, where our business model is linked directly to the growth of the family's portfolio. In 2011, Dheeraj finally decided to get out of his comfort zone to become the face for fiduciary personal finance in India. Hence, the birth of India's few SEBI registered investment and retirement advisors. So, Dheeraj, welcome to my show. I'm so glad and honored to have you out here. And one thing I would like to say about Dheeraj to all the listeners is that I've always admired Dheeraj for his modesty and also always putting the other person at ease in any interaction whatsoever. I think that's one wonderful quality of Dheeraj, which has kept me in touch with him all these 3-4 years. So Dheeraj, again, welcome to my show. So happy to have you.
Thank you, thank you, Shweta. Thank you so much. Beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. I'm grateful. I'm honestly grateful to be here. I'm very excited for your new journey, and I'm happy to share whatever little I can. And if it can help anyone in the process, I'll be more than happy. So thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much, Dheeraj. Just wonderful, and I'm hoping to have a wonderful conversation with you. So without further ado, let's get started. So, while being a tennis player and a sports enthusiast, what triggered you to graduate and pursue a career in finance?
To be honest with you, this goes way back because if you see sport in our family, it's pretty much in our DNA. My dad grew up in a village in Mangalore, but has
Mhm.
records for pretty much everything: cricket, tennis, badminton, high jump, pole vault, you name it. Mom's played sport for Maharashtra as a state and for her college in Bombay. My sister's been a badminton champ in college. So sports always been a part of our life, to be completely honest with you. So for me, tennis was just very natural.
Mhm.
Um, Also, I left home at the age of 15 because I wanted to pursue playing professional tennis.
Mhm.
And, so that was one part of the journey for the first part of my life, right? 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. Unfortunately, in 2013, I started having a small issue with my knee.
Mhm.
And that's when playing for college in the US started to become a little bit of a challenge. At the end of it, had to kind of give up playing for the team. And finance, to be honest with you, has been a part of my life because dad was an investment banker, one firm, 30 years. So it was very natural, and I felt, it's also a sense of security. So when tennis didn't end up working out like I imagined it to be, finance was the next best option that came most naturally to me because I believe if you're doing something, figure out what skill set of yours works best where,
Right.
right? And that's half your journey.
Mm. Mm.
So that's the transition from sport to finance.
Wow, wow. That's wonderful. And quite a commendable family with these sports in their DNA. So that's just wonderful. All right. Okay. So Dheeraj, I mean you've we know that you've worked in US, Singapore and other countries as well. So when did it hit you, or when did you realize that you needed to start a business of your own? And did you have a fair idea that you did you actually figure out, or you knew as to what you actually wanted to get into, or, and start a business in that particular field? So what was it?
See, for me, it was a little different
Mm-hmm.
because I have to go back. You know, we're a Mangalorean family who moved to the Middle East, right? Very, very early. Dad was probably there in the late 70s, early 80s. And so at some point, they were going to move back to India to retire.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2014, after my sister got married and moved to the US, we knew that. So that's when the thought of kind of moving back to India kind of came into my head. So the only natural progression for me was US after being there for 11 years. Transitioning to India would have been a little bit of a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Number one. Number two, even if I did move, where do I even begin? Right? So the next best option for me was the firm that I was working with in the US. They had a branch in the Middle East. So I moved there for a year, and that's where I also tried to learn what NRIs were doing with their own money.
Mm.
Because be it in Bahrain or in Dubai, it's probably the two largest Middle Eastern hubs for NRIs.
Right.
So you really got to understand them there. And then I decided to do my MBA and also experience work in Singapore, again, working with NRI families,
Mm-hmm.
simply because you then learn an Indian mindset, but not from the Middle East, from Singapore and Hong Kong.
Right. Right.
But it's still an Indian at heart, right? So that was the thought process. And while experiencing it, I actually found that whatever we were doing as a firm, you do it more from the perspective of the firm, and you have to, only because the processes are such. You've spent so much money, you've got to get that money back. You have shareholders, you've got to show them profits. So it's just a business model. It's nothing against anyone, but in this entire process, the family really was not getting a solution.
Mm.
And I found that every 6 to 9 months to 12 months, you're going back and you're re-beginning this relationship with a new product, but not
Yeah.
going back from an investment perspective or a thought process of what uh, ambitions that family has, or what requirements they have, or what are their current finances.
Mm.
You see this amount, oh, this is a great place for you, right? And that's where the seed was kind of born on. Maybe there is a market for something like this.
Right. Right.
So it took me a very long time. It didn't happen in a year, or I didn't wake up one day with it. It was probably in the making for about three years.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right.
So this stuff takes a long time.
Yes, absolutely. And when you said that you moved from US to the Middle East and then on to Singapore, um, so do you call this a natural progression which happened? I mean, pertaining to your personal, relationships, and you had to move from US to Middle East. But that being said, when you moved to various other countries, but you did make use of the opportunities which came to you. So what is your perspective on that? Was it like a natural progression that, of course, you moved to different countries, but then was it something that it happened naturally, or was it something that you wanted to experience, probably pertaining to, as you said, when you move to a different country, the products are different. So did you want to get an experience from various countries, or did it happen naturally that you moved, I mean, you did your MBA and
No,
then how
right. No,
okay.
it honestly wasn't natural at all.
Hmm.
A lot of, how can I say, uneasy moments. I say this because at every juncture, as humans, we get very comfortable, right?
Yes.
I studied in the US. I was working there for 4+ years.
Mm.
Why would you leave when the company is willing to apply for your green card?
Right.
99% of the people, that will not make sense.
Mm. Mm.
Then you kind of switch to the most familiar and the safest place in the world, the Middle East, right? You move there and life is incredible. And then to up and leave in about under 2 years is not easy. One, because mom and dad were there. Two, because you have friends that you've grown up with who are now working in Saudi, in Kuwait, in Dubai, in Oman. So the opportunities were there. The familiarity is always there if you grow up in the Middle East. If someone's grown up in the Middle East, they know exactly what I'm talking about. So those are not things which are very easy. And then move to Singapore.
Hmm.
Middle East is like one of the cheapest places to live in the world, right? Why would you move to Singapore? Why would you pay taxes?
Right.
Why would you start from scratch? Why would you compromise on being a little bit more frugal with your money?
Yeah.
Why would you struggle to communicate? Whereas in the Middle East, everyone is speaking English as well as I am, you know. So why would you want to do that? So that's from a perspective of learning,
Hmm.
and learning can put you in very uncomfortable places because learning is one thing and implementing what you learn is a whole different ball game,
Right. Right.
right? And that is where we got to figure out our insecurities. That's where we got to figure out what are maybe some of our biggest fears are, right?
Yes.
And I feel if you can act on that, we may not come out of it on the positive because most times I have not, but it's still a learning in itself. And at some level, it gives you X amount of courage.
So I want to know, what were the learnings from your experience abroad that you incorporated into your first venture, Ethos Wealth Management? So I want to know your experiences, as you mentioned, you started off with US, then went to Dubai, and then to Singapore to learn about various aspects with pertaining to the financial products, and you wanted to gain exposure in all of these cultures as well. So,
Right.
what went on in putting up Ethos Wealth Management? I want to know your personal as well as professional challenges on this journey. Yes.
Well, to begin with, the first thing I learned working and studying about this profession in the US, in Singapore, in the Middle East was perspective.
Mhm.
And I feel when I first moved to India, I felt that was the first thing which was lacking from an advisor perspective, or from an advisory perspective, or a wealth management perspective.
Mhm.
What I mean is, everywhere else, there was a focus on a product, but there was a larger focus on two aspects. One being the relationship, and two being the requirement
Right.
of the family.
Mhm.
And when I first moved here, I felt that was completely lacking. And so that perspective is what we wanted to bring in. And when I set it up, um, we were probably the only firm in Bangalore which were charging clients.
Ah.
So relationship, a perspective of requirements of the family,
Mhm.
and a transparent revenue model and business model. So that was the intent with which we kind of came in to set up.
Mm-hmm.
The challenges while setting up, well, to be honest with you, we come from a family where my dad worked for one firm for 32 years, right? And
Yeah.
in our family, there was no other entrepreneur. So for them, the thought of leaving an international firm, leaving Singapore and moving back to India, a country, or Bangalore, a city where I had spent 1 year of my life only, was
Right.
one, a little foolish to them. And the second, it also added a lot of insecurity because while all their friends from the Middle East, the children were in the US, UK, Australia, why did Dheeraj want to
Mm-hmm.
move back? So these are two challenges that I spent a lot of time internally with the family.
Right.
Professionally, a whole different ballgame, Shweta, to be completely honest with you, because one, parents had never lived in India, so it's not like we had connections in India. Number
Right.
two, we don't come from a business family. So you are not in the right networks, you are not in the right
Mm-hmm.
groups or the right associations. So the
Yes.
first largest challenge was how are we going to reach out to the salaried families in Bangalore? How are we going to reach out to the IT executives? How are we going to reach out to all the corporate lawyers? And you have to understand
Mm.
all these families have maybe 10 bankers, five wealth managers running behind them every year trying to close their account.
Right.
So that was the largest professional challenge. The second largest professional challenge we faced in India was our fundamental fee recovery model.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is we were probably the only ones who were looking to have a transparent pricing model with our clients. What I mean is,
Right.
this is our service. This is what you pay us
Mm-hmm.
upfront. I will not
Right.
earn commissions from the product that I am selling.
Mm.
But wealth management in India was predominantly a free service. So that was our second largest challenge. But what I realized working in Singapore, especially, was
Mm-hmm.
they're very clear in their thought process. And Singapore doesn't have a concept of negotiation. This is my
Right.
price, this is my service, and my service will come at a very high level.
Mm.
And these are my charges, which I will not move away from because I believe it is the only way to to build a sustainable long-term business model. So that drive to continue came from my experience in Singapore.
All right. All right. I want to know, I mean, you mentioned about your personal challenges, right? And also your professional challenges, of course, when you're starting off a new venture altogether. But my question is, with respect to the personal challenges, because of course it's a new place that you were beginning at, and also you mentioned about the insecurity, not just about yourself, but also for the family, because it's a new place altogether, and to again start off from scratch with respect to your venture. So I want to know, what was that one thing which actually drove you? I mean, that was there some that triggered, or was it like, I have to do this, or was it some thought going on in your mind that no, it's something that I really want to do? What was that? I just want to I'm just curious.
If I can be completely frank with you,
Mm-hmm.
um, I cannot sound like a entrepreneur here or someone with a vision here because I would be lying. I wanted to be here because mom and dad were retiring after moving back from the Middle East.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So that was my number one. motivation to be in India. Now that I decided to move to India, what was
Mm-hmm.
the journey, the process, and the destination going to be? If you asked me in 2008 when I started this thought process,
Oh,
I had no idea. But what I did
yeah.
know is moving from the US after being there for 11 years to India overnight would have been a challenge. So the journey started in 2008, and 2009 I was in the Middle East, 2010 I was in Singapore, 2011 I was in India, right?
Right.
So it's parents, and during the journey, because I was in the wealth management space, also earlier to that in the technology space in wealth management, that
Mm-hmm.
perspective is probably what made it a little bit more clear. And why? So that journey was thought through already. The trigger point, I
Mm-hmm.
can say, was after was again indirectly parents, but after being an investment banker in the Middle East for 32 years, being a private wealth client of probably two of the world's largest banks, when he was
Mm-hmm.
looking to retire, everything was haphazard. And this is someone from finance, someone in investment banking for 32 years.
Right.
And that's where the opportunity triggered. Number one, I would anyway end up moving back to India. Number two, I will be meeting
Mm-hmm.
people
Mm-hmm.
like my parents who've worked for 15, 20, 30 years with the hope to retire smarter.
Right.
So if I could create any value there, I knew there was going to be a massive market.
Wow. Wow. Wow, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's wonderful. And yes, I mean, so glad that you started off with Ethos Wealth Management. I'm sure. I mean, I know. I think we did interact much before. I think in TCS sometime. I think you were there for your venture out.
In fact, forget about the podcast, right? You saw us literally in 2012
Yes,
when we were beginning our journey, right?
absolutely.
So you know exactly who we were. Even at TCS, we never spoke of products. We spoke about either tax planning or retirement planning. It was never about trying to find a product. The vision was always to try to create solutions. But because we didn't come from a business family, because I didn't have friends in Bangalore, because I never grew up in Bangalore, where do you begin reaching out to people,
Right.
right? And
Yes.
today, I mean, for the rest of my life, I will forever be grateful to TCS. I mean, two people in particular at TCS, right? NGS sir and Nita ma'am. I'll be forever
Right.
grateful to them for the opportunity in 2012. In fact, I tell my kids, I tell my friends, I tell people in my team that we are who we are today because of TCS, because of the two people at TCS.
Yes, yes. Absolutely. And as you mentioned, yes, I mean, yes, it was, I think back in, of course, 2012 that we met. I think it was very brief. And I know you were presenting out to many of the executives out there, the professionals out there. And I can still recollect. I think I was in the room at that day, I think, because I think, with respect to I think there was Neela Matroy. Yeah, so we were colleagues,
Yes.
and she couldn't make it that day, so I was in her place. I
Oh, wow.
Yes, and I do remember I was a part of the session, and I think the way you walked through, I mean, I certainly don't remember now as to what you spoke about, but I can still feel the same modesty that you have today in talking and putting forth your business and what it is all about. And I think it was more so to do with the relationships which you highlighted earlier as well. So I can still see that. I mean, back in 2012 and even now 2021, I can still feel that and see that. Yes, it's just amazing.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
wonderful.
It's been, I mean, if you guaranteed me in 2012 that this is where I would be, I would take it with open arms.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. So, Dheeraj, I want to ask you, I'm just deviating a bit. So, with
Yeah.
respect to the listeners and also certain people who want to start off this journey. So, I want to ask this question pertaining in that perspective. So, if someone wants to make a career in investment management, what should they focus on? Or are there a list of things that one needs to be aware of to be abreast with the market and the changes that are happening day in and day out with respect to the financial markets? So, so what is your perspective on that? What would you like to say to them?
Well, the space of personal finance
Mm-hmm.
overall in India is still very nascent.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The opportunity for young blood to come in and create a difference in the life of people is definitely there. You have a lot of agents, brokers in India today, don't get me wrong, but from the
Mm-hmm.
advisory perspective and the advisory angle, I believe there is still a long, long, long way to go. And there are opportunities
Mm-hmm.
there. So if someone is looking at it, I believe there is a beautiful life to be made. It may not be the wealthiest of lives, but it'll be a very respectful life. That is for sure,
Yes.
right?
Wow.
Now, once you understand what you are getting into, internally we
Mm-hmm.
keep talking about this a lot as a team, right? When we hire, we have a job opening, and based on that job opening, we look for certain people, and then over time we ask certain people to do multiple things which may or may not be their strengths or may or may not be their natural personality. So, what we've tried to kind of understand is based on our personality and based on our
Mm-hmm.
strengths, where can we make a difference in the team, right? The
Right.
reason I'm bringing this up, Shweta, is for this person who's looking to get into this space, you need to understand your
Right.
personality first and you need to understand what drives
Right.
you. Because if it is the relationship,
Correct.
then it's one part of this business. If it is the numbers,
Yes.
then it could be the research part of the business or the portfolio part of the business.
Right.
It could also be the
Mm-hmm.
client relationship part of the business, but not the acquisition part, right? So, understanding who you
Right.
are, what your strengths are, and what you're looking to deliver based on your strengths become very important in this business. You know,
Right.
if I mean the company incorporation, the compliance, the licenses, the technology, the team processes, meeting different advisors in this business to learn from real life experience. These are all the must dos and the must haves. But this business becomes fundamentally a little bit more than that, right? Because at the
Mm-hmm.
bottom line in this business, your greatest skill or your greatest skill set should be listening to the client and understanding the requirement.
Yes.
That's the largest skill set here.
True. True.
Because when you listen to the client, when you understand the client, you begin to understand their fears, their challenges, their money requirements, their previous experience with money, their experience as a family with money, what are their
Mm-hmm.
outstanding liabilities, how many children are dependent on them. Apart from the children, are the parents and the in-laws dependent on them? Are their siblings dependent on them? Right? Understanding these before you come up with a solution is what is
Mm-hmm.
utmost important in this business, right?
Right.
So all of these need to be focused on, and it needs
Mm-hmm.
to be focused on for a time horizon of anywhere between 5 to 7 years in this business
Right.
to truly believe and understand if you are going in the right direction or not. But I believe that if you do all of these in 7 years, come what may, you will end up in this position.
Wow. All right.
I don't
I
know
mean,
if I
that's
made sense
wonderful.
there, but to me, I made a lot of sense.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I think coming from you who have like experienced and you have a business of your own, and I'm sure you've seen both the sides or many sides to it. And coming from you, I think it's of course, I mean, it's surely going to be a wonderful, probably learnings or pointers that one can look into, like probably those who are interested in the space or want to get into it. So thank you for that, Dheeraj. Thanks for those few pointers
Not
that you
at
gave in.
all.
All right. So I want to ask you this particular question. I think I did have this question pertaining to financial education. So I did ask an educator, an academician, in my previous podcast episode, and also a person who's into stock markets, also with respect to financial education. So I want to know from your end. So do you think financial education is a must for everyone? Starting right from children. I mean, do you think it's very important? Because I asked this because I mean, I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but somewhere with respect to our education system here in India, we always look into probably getting into a secure job. I mean, secure education first and foremost, or a career that you would want to choose could be like, a secure. You don't want to get into arts, but you want to get into science or technical aspects, something on those lines. And then it's only when you start working or probably you're thinking about starting your own business, that's when we kind of get into learning about the financial aspects or trying to work out our finances and probably with respect to investing, where do I invest? So all of these questions come at a later stage, right, when you're into your job and probably figuring out what you want to do for in the future, probably 5 years or
Right.
10 years. So my question
Yes.
here is, I think don't you think financial education when started right from when we are in school or yeah, I mean, ideally school, I think wouldn't that help us in a lot of ways that we can actually be more independent right from then, and also we can choose a career that we want to, and and of course being financially sound can actually help us make that step. So what is your perspective on this?
I am a little biased here
Mm-hmm.
because I am probably one of the few very fortunate people where my dad started with the concept of not just pocket money, but saving pocket money on a monthly basis,
Yes.
right? Dad started that when I was in eighth grade, pretty much,
Mm.
somewhere around there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the concept of saving for us as a family was, I mean, for my sister and I, started very, very, very early. Also, because growing up in the Middle East, every week um, you would have a call with your grandparents, and at the beginning of the month, money would be sent to your grandparents as well, right? So you've
Ah.
seen that. My sister and I have seen that very, very young. So we were very fortunate. But now
Mm-hmm.
that I have children, I feel growing up, the only things which are most or the basic life skills, it may be a lot of them, but the basic life skills should be cycling, swimming,
Mm-hmm.
a sport, music, personal finance, listening, networking, and in today's world, coding.
Oh, yes.
I believe with a 5-year-old at home and with a 2.5-year-old at home, if we can teach them these 9 skills over the next 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
I believe there is nothing else they will require in order to be physically and mentally secure,
Right. Right.
right? So, is personal finance as a child important? Well, it's to me, it's one of the most important skill sets in life. Not because you
Yes.
want to make money and it has nothing to do with making money. It is the fundamental relationship with money, how you look at money, and what you expect from that money,
Yes. Yes.
right? So for me, personal finance is should be a part of our curriculum, like how we
Yes.
have PT and then we have PT class,
Yeah.
right? Then we have music class, we have social studies. We should have personal finance. We should have networking. We should have communication. We should have coding.
Yes, perfect. Right. Thank you, Dheeraj. I think, yes, I mean, I just hope that the new education policy will include all of this. And of course, personal finance is something that needs to come from right from when we are kids. So, yes, yes. Thank you for sharing your story as well.
No, 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 not at all. But I just like to add here,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned something about the education system.
Yes.
I don't believe as parents today
Mm-hmm.
we have the luxury to wait for the system to change, right? So with a 5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old, if I have to wait for the system or and the educational system to change, it may help their children, but not mine, right? So these are things you will have to find time in life with work, with parents, with in-laws, with your social commitments. We need to find time to teach them any of these 9 and 10 life skills. Expecting others to do it, I don't believe is a feasible option right now.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Thanks for that point. I think that's a very valid and genuine point, and I think all of us need to inculcate that probably with first with ourselves, and of course, again with our family, with our children, and of course our friends, and of course, yes. I mean, as you truly mentioned, it's just starts with us rather than expecting others to do it for us. Right.
Absolutely.
Rightfully said. All right. Okay. So Dheeraj, I think I think in one of our conversations way back, I think you had mentioned that you're starting a wing probably in Dubai and other places, other countries as well, pertaining to your venture. So I want to know, how do you handle clients in India and abroad? And do you have a physical setup, an office at these places, or is it by virtually connecting with them? So how has it been?
It's been interesting to say the least.
Okay.
Why I say that is in life we have so many, I can't find a word for it, our perceptions,
Mm-hmm.
right? Our perceptions, we have so many perceptions. And my perception was that if we were an Indian company and we were looking to deal with Indian families in the Middle East, Australia, London, initially I really thought we required a physical presence,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but over time, what I realized is as long as you are in touch with those families consistently across multiple domains. What I mean by multiple domains is I'm talking about email, WhatsApp, a video call, and an
Mm-hmm.
actual call. right?
Right.
If you can do multiple of these platforms separately and remain in touch, the requirement for a physical office comes down considerably.
Right.
If you do not have technology as a firm,
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
having a physical presence becomes a lot more important because the admin work becomes pretty um, time consuming in this business. But since we have
Yes.
iFast as a technology platform, clients today we have clients, Shweta, in Bangalore, Chennai, Pune, Bombay, Delhi, Dubai, Bahrain, Singapore, Australia, London, and the US, with
Wow.
one
Wow.
office in Bangalore,
Wonderful. Wonderful.
right?
Right.
So I believe the processes, the quality of advisory, the incorporation of the right technology, and a team who understands what we are looking to deliver to that family. Because without the team understanding what you are looking to deliver, there is no firm, there is no individual who will ever be able to consistently deliver quality service over a long period of time.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Totally. Oh, yeah. I know. I mean, as you clearly mentioned, it's a synergy of all of these aspects. Yes. And
Yes,
I want to
yes.
ask you, so one thing is from your perspective, so pertaining to productivity, so how do you keep yourself productively considering, I mean, of course, you have clients like all over the world and you have to be in sync with various time zones as well. And also with respect to clients and probably it could be a different connection, probably pertaining to the financial product that you're offering, or it could be something else altogether. So how do you keep track, or how do you keep yourself productive, because there are like zillion things to do, I assume so. And one other question which I want to ask you also is with respect to the team, which you mentioned that it does not happen with one single person, but it is the team altogether. So, how do you select and nurture your teams? Because I know you've spoken a lot about teams. I just really want to hear from you about it. So, yeah, one is your perspective on productivity as to how do you handle it, and also pertaining to teams, how do you nurture them? So, what does it? How does it happen?
Well, let me be honest and say that I am not the most productive person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because when I get into a meeting, I am very emotionally invested in that meeting. So something which was planned for 45 minutes is gone for 2 hours,
Yeah. Right.
right? So my productivity per se is not my greatest strength.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, what's worked, I believe, fortunately for me, is I have been honest enough to inform my team that these are two of my largest shortcomings,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, because of that, I believe maybe they just feel sorry for me and they just help me out by being a little bit more productive, right? It could be that. It could also be the fact that how many ever years they've spent with me, there will never be a week or a quarter or a month that we are speaking about numbers or sales or revenue
Right.
or quarterly targets. So that's never been the motivation,
Mm.
right? I lose my cool per se when a service is not delivered to a client or when a promise is
Right.
not kept with a client, right? So I believe that intent also to a large degree makes a difference. but that will only make a difference, Shweta, if the team member also believes the same,
Yes. Yes.
right? Because otherwise, I can say what I want to say, you can say what you want to say. As HR at TCS, you will ask me to be a part of 12 different seminars, one every month. But if my intent is lacking,
Right.
there's nothing you can do to change me as an employee, right?
Yes.
And that's where I believe consistently the only, you talk about KRAs as a firm or as
Right.
HR, right? You talk about KPIs, right? For me internally, my only KPI would be if every client's every service has been delivered or not. If that is met by every team member, that's the only KPI I am interested in.
Right. Absolutely.
So I think I have tried to build a KPI based on the service you are committing to provide,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
based on the solution you have committed to deliver, based on the 100 or 150 operational aspects you said you would deliver to the family before you onboarded them. Now that you've onboarded them, you can't go back on that. And my thing is, everybody in life goes back on that. So if you can consistently deliver on that for 7 years, that family will not leave you with their personal finances, right?
Wonderful.
So at the end of the day, so that's my one thought process.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
lo and behold, no team, no firm.
Right.
Without individuals who are willing to put in their time, their effort, their thought process, their to some degree money, to some degree time with family, right? These are all sacrifices they make because they believe you are looking to do something for these families, right? So you have to find the team who believes in it.
Yes.
And as a firm, then we have got to, then once they understand and believe us, then we've got to take a step back, understand their skill set,
Right.
understand where
Mm-hmm.
they want
Mm-hmm.
to be in life, what are their strengths, and instead of focusing on improving my weaknesses, I
Mm-hmm.
would prefer personally building on my strengths. There's no right or wrong
Correct.
here. This is my belief.
Yeah.
Because the amount of
Absolutely.
time, energy I will spend trying to make my 40% into a 80%, in half that time, I can make my 80 into a 95%.
Right.
Whereas
True.
someone on my team will spend 15% of that effort and go from 40 to 75. So that's my thought
Yes.
process. So everybody has a skill set and a strength. Focus on that. So hire based on that. Don't hire based on the position or the previous experience.
Right. Right. Beautiful. Yeah. And I also remember, I think in your video on YouTube, I think you had mentioned with respect to the teams. I really love this aspect when you mentioned where, s- I mean, I think it was from your perspective that you said that 5 o'clock, the work is done. I go, I want to spend time with my family. And the same goes for my team members as well. 5 o'clock, you're shut. You're done. You're done with work. Even your team members have to leave and then of course spend time with their family. I really love that
Yeah,
aspect. Yeah, I mean, could you tell us about it?
flexibility, right? It's not 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock. It's flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like coming in at 9, some people like coming in at 10.
Right.
Some people some people like coming in at 9 but cannot come in at 9 because they have children and they've got to go to school. Some people may
Yes.
want to leave early but they cannot leave early because they've got to go and pick up somebody from somewhere else,
Yes.
right? So I am not somebody who is going to ask you to come at some time and leave at some time. You have something to get done in the
Yes.
morning, finish it and come. You have something you need to
Right.
do every evening, come earlier, right? What time you clock in and what time you clock out is irrelevant, because I know friends who clock in at 9 and clock out at 9 a.m. and clock out at 7 p.m., but do about 3.5 hours worth of work,
Right.
right? I would rather you come in for I would rather you come in for 6 hours, give me 6 quality hours, and walk away. 9 hour day doesn't make a difference to me. In fact, not even 6 hours. Give me 5 productive hours a day, 5 productive hours a day,
Right.
and 1 hour of self learning or 1 hour of skill
Yes.
development. That's how I would put it. 5 hours of productivity, 1 hour of skill development. 6 hours a day is all I'm
Yes.
asking. 6 productive hours a day.
Right. Right. That's wonderful. I mean, yes, I think coming from, I wouldn't call you a manager or the CEO of the company, but I would call you as a leader. I think when you are on the path.
I am just a consultant. There are many terms.
Yes,
and
yes,
and to be honest with you, LinkedIn has kind of spoilt us there, because everyone's a founder today, everyone's a CEO today,
I
everyone's a
know.
visionary today. And I am nobody to say yes or no, because in their own right, they all are.
Right.
I personally just think I am a retirement advisor
Mm-hmm.
who likes to advise families on investments, real estate, family planning, taxes, and their retirement. I believe I because I listen more, that relationship over the years grows a little bit more than just the personal finance aspect.
Yes.
And that is my greatest strength, right?
Right.
Now, all of this, I will always need 5 to 7 to 9 people who will actually be doing the work, which means, and I'm saying they are actually doing the work, which means without them, this person who you're speaking of as a CEO or a leader or whatever you think, or whatever, becomes completely irrelevant without these people in the back, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm a consultant
True.
who works with salaried families, who and that's all I am, and who likes
Perfect.
to play tennis and spend time with kids.
Perfect, perfect, wonderful. All right. So, considering you mentioned retirement advisor, so my next question is, could you tell us about you being a SEBI registered investment and retirement advisor? I know there were a lot of things that you were talking about the other day, so I really want to get to that at this point in time.
Like I said earlier, right? In 2011, 2012, if you told me in 2021 I would be here,
Mm-hmm.
I would take it with open arms.
Yeah.
I say that because as a firm, we've been profitable from year two.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I walked into a city in 2011 that I had only visited on summer vacations my entire life.
Yeah.
I have families in this city who have trusted us with their lifelong earnings that they have earned over the last 15, 20, 25 years, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
Please understand, when I landed in Bangalore in 2011, I probably knew five people in Bangalore, right?
Oh.
So before I get to SEBI, before I get to investment and retirement advisor, let me just say that Bangalore has been very kind to me. No,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
the concept of an investment advisor was very clear when I moved from Singapore. The fact that we are going to have one revenue model which is charging the clients directly is something that we were clear about.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we first moved to India, I had the opportunity, thanks to my dad, to meet Mr. Deepak Satwalekar, who was the CMD of HDFC Life. And he told us what is wrong with the business. He told us what are the roadblocks and all the challenges that we are going to face. And he told us everything that is not glamorous about this industry. So, what I'm trying to say here is when I came with the intent of becoming an investment advisor, having a transparent revenue model,
Mm-hmm.
along with the feedback from Mr. Deepak Satwalekar, I was going completely against what was happening in India. And after this entire fiasco, he says, but I believe you will do well if you do it right. Right? So today, what SEBI is trying to do is create a set of advisors who do not earn purely from commissions. The reason behind that is products are missold based on the highest commissions, right? And SEBI made this a law per se in about 2018, 19, 20, where they officially came out and started, talking about it. But we are proud to say that when we moved in 2011 and started working with iFast in 2012, that's when we started the fee model. So we were probably one of the first ones in Bangalore. And the goal behind this was very clear: create a model where the firm's revenue or our revenue is directly linked to the portfolio of the client. The client's portfolio grows, our revenue grows. The client's portfolio comes down, our revenue comes down, right? So we were here doing this in 2012. And I must say I have Bangalore to be grateful for, because when I moved here, I knew five people. So, how do you reach out to the salaried families? How do you reach out to the IT consultants? How do you reach out to the corporate lawyers? Wasn't easy, but our intent was very clear. And I believe Bangalore welcomed us with open arms, because Bangalore has a new set of younger population who have left home, and because they've left their ancestral home, which is very
Yes.
high in real estate value, they don't see that as much anymore. Number two, in newer cities, when they're setting up their life now, because there is a change in people leaving jobs every 3, 5, 7 years, they don't want to be tied down to a city,
Mm.
which means more liquidity, which means more investments, right? So Bangalore and Pune were the two markets where we felt families or individuals were more apt to
Mm.
saving more on a monthly basis. And that's how the SEBI registered investment and retirement advisory was set up in
Oh,
Bangalore.
awesome. That's great. All right. So I want to know, I know you have a new venture as well, so which is called as Salud Beverages Private Limited. So could you tell us about it and how did that all begin and what's happening with it? Could you tell us more about that?
Yes, so Salud is a new baby. I have
Mm-hmm.
been a part of it since 2019, where I oversee the finance, fundraising, and accounting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But understand that Salud came to me through because I was a registered investment and retirement advisor. They were clients earlier, and this opportunity came about because of that, because of the older relationship.
Yes.
At Salute, what we're trying to do is create India's first ready to drink gin and tonic.
Ah,
We've launched it
right.
in three flavors: original,
Mm-hmm.
cucumber, and lavender.
Wow.
So we're trying to enter the life and the lifestyle space through Salud Beverages. We are
Wow.
officially in the market for over 2.5 weeks in Bangalore. We are
Mm-hmm.
available at more than 100 outlets in Bangalore, and we are slowly looking to build on that.
Wow. I mean, that seems interesting. And considering you have just started off, I'm sure it's going to go a long, long, long way. And I'm all the best for you on
Thank
that.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. I would like to, ask this question. I think, as you mentioned, it was because you were a registered, SEBI registered investment advisor that you got this opportunity. So my next question is about authentic connections. So do they matter? And what is your perspective on having an authentic connection? I mean, of course, I'm talking more on the aspect of the professional front. So what do you think?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't see a distinguishing factor between professional life and personal life
Yes.
for the pure fact that if I am a different person at the office and I am a different person at home,
Right.
that's a lot of energy you are carrying or a lot of baggage you are carrying. And I
True.
don't know if that's the right thing to do in life. So perspective for me, work or at home is the same. How I speak to clients is how I speak to my 5-year-old daughter, is how I am speaking to you right now, is how I speak to my team most of the time, right?
Right.
So from a connection perspective, there's nothing more important. And I feel when you are genuine in life or at work, because you can't hide that
Yes.
for too long, right?
Exactly.
So when you are like that, I don't know if it is the genuine connections that matter, but I believe you end up meeting like-minded people when
Oh,
you are
yes.
honest the entire time,
True.
right? And when you meet like-minded people, when you meet self-motivated people, the only aspect you are looking for is personal growth,
Yes.
right? And if that is the intent, that intent will only be based if you have a positive mindset and if you're a good listener.
True.
So, do connections matter? Absolutely. In life, it's probably the only thing that matters. With your children, with your spouse, with your friends, with your team, with your clients, with the people you have a weekend relationship with, whatever it may be,
Yes.
right? And I believe if you are honest enough and you are looking to build that positivity within the other people, it leads to relationships which are probably stronger than blood.
Right. Absolutely. So well said. And I totally resonate with you. I think I'm talking from the perspective of businesses or, probably pertaining to people making transactions because of course it's just a business relationship, or you want a certain work to be done because of course it's just business at the end of the day. But as you clearly pointed out, and I also truly believe in having authentic connections, and it really goes a long way. It's just not about, probably it could be some work you're working, I mean some project that you're working on together, but ideally an authentic connection is much 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 more than that. And
Absolutely.
so believe in what you said, that it is not just, I think when you are genuine and authentic as a person and the connections that you have, then of course it has to be genuine. So of
Yeah,
course
I
there's
mean
no.
it's genuine. That does not mean
Yes.
it's going to be perfect,
Right. Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I am going to make my mistakes. There are things that are not going to go as planned,
Right.
but just the fact that the intent was there, and the fact that whatever happened was not pre-planned in a malicious
Oh.
manner,
Oh yes.
right?
Yeah.
For me, that helps me sleep at night. It will not always go as planned, trust me. And last year we had some tough times. um,
Right. Yes.
so yeah, so you need all of it. You need all of it to come together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And solely believe in, I think if you are a person that you can, infuse that positive energy in others because you are already in that space and energy, and I think of course, I think you will always attract like-minded individuals, and of course it's going to be always a very wonderful connection to have.
It
Yes,
is, it
all
is, it
right.
is. But everyone needs, as positive as anybody is. Um,
Yeah.
there are times it's important to reach out. There are times it's important to speak to people. If and
Yes.
sometimes we're not comfortable speaking to people that we know.
True.
So it's okay, and I've done it myself, where I have gone out and reached out to somebody else to speak about what I'm going through.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
So not everyone will get it out from themselves, but it's
Hmm.
okay to understand, and it's okay to believe that, I mean, to understand that it is okay to go and speak to somebody.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's just that one step, as any individual that we need to take. That yes, I mean we need to share, and yeah, I mean be it anyone. I mean if you're not comfortable talking to someone that probably it could be a stranger altogether. I mean, yeah, why not? Yeah, of
Yep,
course.
absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. Right. So Dheeraj, I mean, considering we did talk about the pandemic and a bit, so I want to know, how has the pandemic affected your business? Uh, be it in a positive way or a negative way. So how was it, or how is it going on at the moment?
Well, it helped me gain a lot of perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I learned, or I was taught, that my priorities in life were really, really, really wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Work wise, it started off very tough. We had volatile markets in March. We had Franklin Templeton having an issue in the markets. We had families with salary cuts. We had families or consultants with job insecurities. And all of these
Right.
families have liabilities, they have investments that they are saving for their children. So, in a large way, it was a tough time because we were going back and forth, right? The other
True.
challenge was, as a team, we were not used to working from home. So, not only was markets a challenge, not only was the client's mentality a challenge, not only, and when markets go down, understand our revenues also go down, right?
True.
and then you
Yes.
have to spend more because your team's working from home. You may not be, initially at least, you may not be as productive because we're so used to working in the office and being at home, so
Yes.
those challenges were definitely there. um,
Mm-hmm.
what
Mm-hmm.
I did learn though was that not all clients actually want or need to meet face to face, right? There was so much stuff that I got done from the office, which means I saved a lot of
Great.
travel time, which means I had time
Mm-hmm.
with the team members more, which means I had time to restructure portfolios more. So that was a positive.
Mm.
Um,
Yes.
our realization was our investment in technology in 2011 and 2012 was probably one of the reasons why we were able to recover the fastest.
Correct.
So those
Mm-hmm.
7 years of investments, the ROI came out in 6 months.
Wow.
And
Mm-hmm.
that was the patience I was talking about in when we were talking about the question with somebody who's looking to get into this business.
Yes.
That's the patience that I
Yes.
was talking about. But what I so that's internally. What I did see with extended clients or their companies or people that I've known now in Bangalore, my learnings
Mm-hmm.
were understand what is leverage and what is good for business and what that can mean in
Right.
terms of quick growth, but also
Mm-hmm.
understand what is over leverage, and also understand that even though raising money today has become very easy for startups or for companies, it does come at a cost.
Right.
So these were some learnings, and at the end of the day, from a retirement advisory perspective, I'm fast forwarding now from April 2020 to September or October 2020, is when families started realizing the importance of saving more, and that's been a
Mm.
positive shift towards our business. And the fact that
Great.
we are SEBI registered, the fact that our
Mm-hmm.
business model is very transparent, and the fact that we have
Mm-hmm.
team members who are doing this now has worked in our benefit.
Wow. Wow. That's wonderful. That's great. I mean, I know the pandemic has been quite a setback for many of the companies and organizations. Um, but I think, as you mentioned, there could be a positive side as well as a negative side. It's all about re-strategizing or restructuring the business that you're in. So I think it's more so to do with that, and I'm so glad and happy that there were a lot of positive things for your business as well, and clients also realizing how important how important saving is.
Knock on
So
wood, knock
yes.
on wood. I mean, there is always a bright side in life to any situation. We've
Absolutely.
just got to find it.
Absolutely.
It
There.
took long enough, but yes, that's been the positive for us.
Yes, the pandemic did have a silver lining.
Yes, and I haven't, and the pandemic gave me the most amount of time I have spent with my 5-year-old in the last 5 years.
Oh
So
wow.
it's been a win-win both ways.
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. I think the pandemic was a good time because I think as a family, like staying under one roof like 24 by 7, I think it has happened in quite some years. Yeah, I think that's quite some a very amazing silver lining, I would say.
Absolutely, absolutely, no doubt about it. Because my
Yes.
my wife and I both work, right? Ujjwala and I both work.
Right.
So
Right.
So there are times where everyone's got to step in. My mother-in-law's been stepping in for the last couple of years now. My mom's
Yes.
stepping in. So we need all the support possible.
True, true. Lovely. So, just extending my question, pertaining to the pandemic as well, is so during this time, well being is of utmost importance for anyone. So, what is your workout or well being routine like? And what do you indulge in apart from work? I know you do play tennis, but what else?
Well, you know, my goal since setting up the firm in 2011, right, setting up Deeraj Shetty, the retirement advisory, the goal was always to focus on wealth, wellness, and retirement.
Yes,
Because wealth and retirement is a part of the retirement advisory that we do.
right.
The wellness aspect, I feel, is very important. One, because I've seen it at home growing up with two athlete parents.
Mm-hmm.
Also, after my marriage, my wife wakes up. So she's a doctor who used to run half marathons until she had children. Um, she works, she's doing a Stanford program. She does a lot of
Wow.
stuff, right? But come what may, she's up
Mm-hmm.
in the morning. She does her stretching, she does her meditation, she does her yoga. In between, she used to do her kriyas as well, but not as consistent anymore.
Right.
Something that she wants to get back to this year, right? So the reason
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you this is because all of this is what leads to health and well-being. It's not so much just about the
Yes.
physical activity part, but going out and speaking to someone or having time to meditate for yourself. These are all aspects required for a better life, you know.
Right.
So yeah, I have to give her a lot of credit for that. And me personally, during the pandemic, I'm down about 14 kilos.
Wow.
That's happened all thanks to my wife. She started functional training,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then watching her do yoga and meditate, I started doing a little bit of that. So I
Wow.
feel during the lockdown, I also transitioned from an anxious entrepreneur to a grateful father.
Wow. Amazing, amazing. So you also do play tennis, right? So how's that
Yes.
been going?
Oh, it's a big part of my life.
Right.
It's something I look forward to. We generally play Tuesday, Thursdays, Saturdays, early morning or in the evenings, but
Mm-hmm.
at least twice a week I try. And it's a big part.
Right.
It started off as just something physical, fun. It ended up being meeting some great people, and over time, over the last 5 years now, it's led to the growth of our business because these people consistently saw me for 5 years doing work, being on time, being
Right.
productive, and that led to their faith that I could keep up to my word of what I do in terms of being an investment and a retirement advisor. So tennis has definitely helped me there.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. I mean, that's good to know. I think yourself and also your family is doing a whole lot of things for well-being, and as you clearly mentioned, it's all about wellness and of course yeah, I think that's the most important aspect that we all need to
It
probably
is. Before we
focus on.
end, though, can I just say this?
Yes.
Um, I was talking about the nine basic skill sets of life, and sport being one of them. Tennis happened to be mine, right? And
Yes.
yes, at
Yes.
one point, I did want to be a professional tennis player. I aimed to play Junior Davis Cup for India, play Davis Cup
Mm.
for India, all of that. And even though I failed as a professional tennis player, I
Mm-hmm.
fast forward 15 years of my life of not playing tennis. And today, tennis has helped me meet new people in a new city. Tennis has given me business opportunities. Tennis has helped me create a group in Bangalore of close friends who we today go out on holidays with our children,
Right.
right? So it's not just about being a professional athlete, but just the discipline, the work, the ethics. When you put so much time into it, at some point in some aspect of your life, you will be positively impacted.
Yes, yes. I mean, well said, Dheeraj. Because just last week I was talking to another entrepreneur. She's into travel writing and she's based out of South Africa. And we actually ended up having the same conversation that she was saying that she actually explored a lot of avenues when she was in her 20s, and she always always wanted to say that there is no harm and there is no something like a waste which happens if you're exploring a whole lot of avenues, be it whatever that you're doing. Those skill sets will always come in handy when you're probably sometime during your life you will obviously use it. There's no wastage
100%.
of anything. Yeah.
100%. And
Yes.
the more you're exposed, in fact, Ujwala keeps saying this, right? Instead of
Mm-hmm.
giving our children what we didn't have,
Yeah.
give them experiences and get them exposed. Because if you get
Wow.
them exposed enough, they will be in situations outside of their comfort zone very early. And if they're outside their comfort zone, that's the only place you're going to grow in life.
Perfect. I think that's wonderful. I think that is probably the mantra that everyone should have in their lives. And thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, thank Ujwala, not me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ujwala. I'm sure you'll be listening to it shortly. Well, wonderful. So we come to the end. I just have a very small section which I call as the Pruner Spotlight section. So I'm gonna shoot you like just a volley of tennis balls. I'm gonna shoot you with five questions. So it could be a random one. It could be on the personal front or the professional front. So you can answer to me in a word or two, or a couple of sentences. It's totally left up to you. So are you ready for it?
I'm going to try.
All right. Okay. So the first question being, what is your ikigai? So ikigai is nothing but the reason for your being. So what is that one thing that you would do no matter what is happening around the world on any given day? So what is that one thing?
Building relationships.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. And that's perfect too. I think when you're sharing your journey, I think yes, I think this is the one important highlight of the talk, building relationships.
Drives
Yeah.
me the most.
Yes,
Drives me the
perfect.
most. And in life, I feel finance is the one aspect I know the least. I mean, know the what I think the most about. So building relationships through finance.
Perfect. Perfect. Well said. All right. Any person who inspires you, or you can also talk about any book which has inspired you or motivated you. Any person or a book, or you can talk about both. There are so many, huh?
Can I sound cliche and say my parents?
It's not a cliche. Come on. You hold your parents inspiring, of course. Yeah.
I'd say them 100%. And I can give you examples of why also because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
dad was born in a village, never saw Mangalore city till his first year of college,
Yeah.
and then
Mm-hmm.
retired as the CFO of an investment bank in the Middle East 40 years later.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. So him, mom, because multilingual, can speak eight languages, can build relationships with a
Wow.
watchman to a help to the CEO of a company to the Prime Minister of India. She played sport her entire life. She was a teacher. She gave that up because her husband asked her to give it up and became a homemaker. So
Yeah.
obviously sacrificed, obviously a
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
multitasker as a homemaker.
Yes.
So yeah,
Right.
yeah, I'd say them.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Okay, my next question is interesting. So, hypothetically, if you turn out to be the richest person in the world tomorrow, what would you like to do? Or would you continue to do what you're already doing?
I do what I'm doing, but I would do a lot with the money though.
Yes.
I would do a
Yes.
lot with the money.
Mm-hmm.
My sister turned 40 this year and we planted 40 trees for her.
Wow.
You could maybe make that 40,000 trees,
Wow.
right? So yeah, you could do a lot with that money.
Wonderful.
There's an
Wonderful.
orphanage every year that my sister comes down from the US,
Mm-hmm.
where she's very active now in Bangalore, right, with Premanjali. So you do a
Mm-hmm.
lot there. And because Premanjali's been around since 1989, so you would do a lot there. But no, I would
Yes.
not give up
Yes.
what I'm doing though, not at all.
Perfect. Brilliant. All right. So, what is your idea of well being in personal and professional life?
Well-being in personal life would be spending time with kids, playing a sport, and being available, mentally available for parents, in-laws, and everybody else. And of course, for your spouse, no doubt. Um, well-being for work, for me, is very simple.
Hmm.
Can you wake up every morning, early morning, without an alarm, right?
Yeah.
And I can wake up before 6 o'clock without an alarm. I feel
Perfect.
I like what I'm doing because if I didn't, I would not be up so early.
Super. Super.
So yeah,
And well
that would be
said.
it. That would be it for
Yes.
me. Yeah, waking up early. I mean, waking up without an alarm to me says a lot about what's happening in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally. All right. The last question. What is your definition of success?
The ability to create a positive impact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say that
Yes.
the ability to create a positive impact in our case professionally, in my case professionally, I would say as a retirement advisor for families who are working for 25, 35 years. From my wife's perspective, who runs a 125 bedded multi-specialty hospital, again, health, right? So for me, yeah, creating that positive impact. If it's Premanjali with orphans, if it's the trees with my sister, creating a positive impact.
Awesome. Awesome. Perfect. Amazing. And I would want to ask you what is the one takeaway that you want to give to the audience or the listeners? And the listeners could be someone who's just starting off on an entrepreneurial journey, or who is wanting to start, or someone who is already there but who wants to scale as their business as well. So, what would you like to say to them? Any key learnings that you want to share?
Do it yesterday.
Hmm.
Get the right people. Be smart. Keep trying.
Hmm.
Always smile and be grateful.
Yes, wonderful. So beautiful and spectacularly wonderful as well. So, Dheeraj, how can one reach out to you?
Um, Website is deerajshetty.com. That's
Hmm.
DEERAJSHETTY, deerajshetty.com. My email is advisor at deerajshetty.com. Reach out to me anytime. And Shweta knows this because we were at YA together. The kids used to reach out to us at any time, and we will, if we don't respond right at that time because we're busy at work, before the end of day, you will receive a response.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll be sure to leave these links in the episode show notes.
Done.
Dheeraj, thank you so much. And I'm so glad that we could do this. I think our connection goes back to 3 years, but I think considering our talk today, I think, yeah, we did meet 10 years ago.
Yep.
So it's just so wonderful to be in touch with you all these years. And it's always nice whenever I reach out to you. I always see a very modest person that I could always interact with at any point in time. And thank you for sharing your journey, your insights from your entrepreneurial journey. It has been such an honor and a pleasure to have you on my show. And all the best for your new venture, Salute Beverages. And again, you're already doing good with Ethos Wealth Management. So 10 years. So congratulations on that. And also all
Thank
the best to
you.
your new venture. Thank you
Thank
again.
you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for the questions. I truly appreciate it. If I was of any value to anybody, please reach out. I'll be happy to help. What I would also recommend is flip the script and I will do an interview of you because you also quit the corporate world, became an entrepreneur yourself, and have gone through an exciting journey since. So I feel you need to be interviewed as well.
In time, Dheeraj, and thank you for those kind words. In time, and if I want an interviewer, I'll be sure to reach out to you.
Done. Done. Sounds good. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.